How's it going? Anthony Ferraro here, Create Sci-Fi. Today is super exciting. Today I'm going to be doing a proper kit bash. Now on this channel, it's important to me that everything is DIY, right? Everything is affordable. Everything is something that you can look and say, oh, I can do this, and even just go out today or the weekend or whatever and do it. So with the kit bashing, it's exciting to me for a lot of reasons. Number one, I do a lot of sci-fi filmmaking and props and costumes here, and I've done 2 kit bashing videos. But for me, I did them for the first time with you on this channel, so it's something I'm exploring too, right? So sticking sort of with the theme and the mission of this channel, I have 2 videos that are kit bashing, right from making the model to filming it, that are filmed with the phone, handheld. Kit bash from parts from the dollar store for like around $5 worth of materials. So I have you covered on that. So for me, even as I evolve and now that I'm learning, and if you've been following along or if you're just joining for this, now I'm going to do a proper kit bash with model kits, right? So I got you covered on the DIY $5, you know, very doable. But this, so now for myself, I wanted to take it to the next level. And this one, my goal for this is to make it really, I'd say 70s level of perfection, right? So I went to my local hobby shop in Burbank. I mean, look at all these models. I figured I wanted to do it from 3 things. So I have a tank. I have, this was great. This was like a loose kit since I'm kit bashing. So we'll get this. This is like a jet for like my engines and my wings. This is sort of just a rando. This is like some kind of weird mech. You know, I figured this is like the wild card. And then for the core of it, I have this battleship. Now, from everything I've seen and I've watched and I've read, it seems like World War II type models are really good for this sort of thing, right? So that's why I think this is going to be the core of it, right? Oh man, so I'm very, very excited to dig into this. Like I said, you know, this one we're really going for it. And I'll link to the other videos. So if you're advanced or if you're ready to go for it, we're gonna try this together, or just follow along, because it's just, I don't know, if you're like me, I just love watching this stuff. And then if you want to just dive in this weekend, just kind of get your feet wet, I'll link to the videos where you can, you know, do it from dollar store and you know, shampoo bottles and things around the house. All right, so I'm excited. Let's dive into the build. All right, so the first thing we do is take a look at these kits, these beautiful new kits, and we're gonna rip them apart. Here's my basic tools. I got the nippers, the file, various knives, and then this special glue I'm gonna try. I don't know. So let's dig into this main model. I really feel like this battleship is going to be sort of the core of the piece. Seems pretty obvious. I am concerned that it's still gonna look too much like a ship, so I'm keeping that in mind, but you know, got to get into it. So all these great parts, I'm so used to working with found parts. It's really nice to have all this available. Plus everything I don't use will be saved for future projects. So with the nippers, got to go through and cut these all off their sprues. Where it connects, you always want to hit it with a little file, a little sandpaper, because you get the little plastic nipples. You want to get rid of those as you go. So now this is a pretty basic model, so it's really just about the deck and the ship part. So I'm using this adhesive. It's sort of like, I guess, like a PVC thing where it melts it together. So far, so good. And just a quick sanding. I know that the bottom, the sides, even though they're flat, I'm going to be gluing stuff to there. So I have this airplane, and this is going to be the bottom structure, the wing structure, and it's going to start to change the silhouette of the battleship. So, you know, try different things out, square peg, round hole, all the way with this project. So I think that's going to work nice on the bottom, so I'm going to glue this up first to make it one piece before I put it onto the bottom of the ship. And here's the point where I say, nah, that glue's not working for me, and I go back to the old standby, just super glue with a kicker, and I'm going to use super glue for the rest of this build. So now I put that at the bottom, and all the time you're looking at this, you're thinking about it. I'm going to do a lot of flybys. Just, you know, you're waiting for it. You know, this will sound lofty, but you're waiting for it to talk to you. I just feel that certain things, if you keep an open mind, make sense. Where, you know, you think, okay, this goes here, or this is fighting me. So now I have this bottom of the jet, and I'm taking my Dremel tool, and we're flattening off some of the nubs from the ship deck that are obviously in the way. It's a round peg where I'm going to put a square piece on top of it. So we're just flattening that out, and you know, it takes a little longer because you sort of double think every one of these steps because everything's pretty much permanent. So now I'm laying this down, and I'm starting to get the core structure of the ship, which is nice, because then once you get that core structure, then it's all about sort of finding where things fit, determining where things are missing, and it's the creative part, it's the fun part. So now I have these fins, these wings, and I'm thinking that I want to alter the nose of the ship. Again, trying to make it not look like a battleship. So right now, I'm going to go back and change that later in the video, you'll see. But for now, you know, this is the process. So I'm thinking, oh, this is going to help me to change the profile of the ship. So now I have the smaller pieces. In the case of this jet, there was like a lot of torpedoes and little wing greebles. Here's the guns for the battleship. So right now I'm thinking I'm either going to use those as guns, but now I'm thinking, oh, it might be interesting on the side of the ship. So now I'm so the bombs are nice because they're all in half pieces, so I can use them for something else, repurpose them. So I'm putting them on the side here, using my trusty super glue. And again, you know, I'm still on the fence about everything, but you know, you got to make these little baby steps. So now I have, these are the pieces from the ship that are sort of like the smokestack of the ship, and now they are the right size to cover up those holes in that wing. We're probably in the wing, it's probably where the wheels went, right? So now what I'm doing is putting together a puzzle incorrectly. Basically, you know, I'm finding like, oh, here's a hole, here's a piece, I need to cover that, and then at the same time, it's that dance where you're looking at the silhouette of the ship and thinking, okay, this is working, this won't work here, and it's pretty practical at this point in the sense where, you know, I have all these holes that were part of the kit that I need to cover. So now I have this Japanese style mech that has some really interesting parts. So this was a good one, right? So I have tanks and planes and ships, but this is like a little humanoid mech. So it's going to add some interesting parts to the ship, and I really like these. And I like that they're green because in my mind, sort of in my process of building this, I know, okay, these green pieces are the unusual pieces, and they're really helping to make it more interesting, right? And these are the pieces that are going to make it sort of indeterminable, like what the source was. So now I have this gap, and I have another wing. I got lots of wings laying around. So anytime I have to fill a gap and then I have a random piece that fills that gap, I kind of take that as a sign, you know, okay, this is the piece. And I'm building on this. Again, later in the video, I'm going to get rid of this, but it's part of the process, right? You have to see it to know, okay, this is working, that's not working. And sometimes it's, you know, one step forward, two steps back. And all the time you'll notice I'm testing in the camera as I'm filming this. It's cool that I have the camera going. I'll very often just fly the ship by the camera, and that really gives me a good idea. So now I have this kit that's pretty much just 4 rockets, right? Because I was feeling like the engines weren't really selling, right? It's still a battleship, so I felt by putting really exaggerated, oversized, I'm doing air quotes, jet engines, that would really make it pop and really sell it as some sort of spaceship. Here I have the rockets, and again, this is from a very basic kit, it's just a snap kit, but I have, from my tank model, I have these wheels, which I'm adding to the rocket engines just to give them a little more pop, a little more definition. And there you see, just makes them pop a little more. So now I very simply assemble these engines, but these are rocket engines, right? So by adding these to my ship, I just think it's really making it look more like a spacecraft rather than a ship that's floating in space, right? Like, ever see the steampunk with like the pirate ship that's a hot air balloon? Like, I don't want it to look like a battleship that's floating around in space, and I think these sort of exaggerated, clearly rocket engines are really going to help me to achieve that. And I'm really happy with the way these turned out. And again, there's 4 of them, but as I was putting it on the bottom of the ship, it really told me that, 3 is what wants to live here. And then the tail of that rocket model had this larger engine, and I thought, oh, okay, this will help me disguise the back of the ship. And as I was saying earlier, it fit, right? So if it fits, then I take that as a sign as, okay, that this is meant to go here, right? And always, right, flying it by. But that really gives you a good idea. So now I want to extend the wings, and I want to add more fins because I'm noticing the 2 wings that I put on there are not enough. So now I'm going to use some pieces of styrene plastic. And styrene plastic is amazing. It's kind of like EVA foam, right? Like, you can invent pieces, and it's a very easy material to work with, and it's pretty much the same material that the model's already made of, so it all blends together really nicely. But I don't want to waste my sheets of plastic, so first I do a test. I make a template in cardboard, because the cardboard's good. You can always sort of rearrange it in other ways that you want. You can bend it, you can cut it, you can separate it, make it bigger, smaller, and then once you get your pattern, then you commit it to the actual styrene. So now, this was my idea. I did it in cardboard, and it worked. It was a good idea. So the styrene, all you do is, you score it with a knife, and then it just snaps right off. It's really great material. So I have this extra wing piece. So again, you need to sand this down and clean it and smooth it. But I'm fitting it up now. And now it's occurring to me that, okay, even though this fits, now I start to get the idea of, oh, I need more of these, and I'm going to make a fin. And this is what's really going to make the back unique. Like, I was waiting for this moment of inspiration to happen. And for me, typically, it's not pre-thought. It's during the process these things happen, and then now I'm like, oh, okay, right. So it's almost like, I guess, like a heat sink, and then I put on 3, and then when I looked at it, I thought, oh, okay, it needs, now it's going to need 2 more. So now I'm thinking the back of the ship needs to be a little more pronounced, and then I realized, I need to fix the front of the ship. Okay, so I got to take a break here. So I'm at the point where it's coming along good, and I keep building, but I keep adding, and I feel no closer to completion. And I feel the reason for that is it's just not that moment where you're like, aha. So I feel like I'm getting really close. I like the way the back of this is looking. It's so close, but something's preventing me from saying, okay, good, let's start just doing the details and then paint. And I think it's this profile here. So it's kind of scary, but I've been going in circles because I've been avoiding this step. I feel like, I've had 24 hours to think about it, and I'm still thinking about it. I need to slice off this front here. So that's what I'm going to do. Just taking a moment though to just talk about that, because sometimes, you know, you can paint yourself into a corner, right? You start procrastinating or something like you don't really want to do, or you don't feel 100%, and then you keep going in circles. So at some point, you just got to go for it, right? So we're really close. I'm liking the way this is looking, but I'm gonna go ahead and bite the bullet. And I think I'm just gonna go like on an angle right here, and then maybe put something that mimics this in the front. And then I think then we'll just go on to detailing. All right, wish me luck. So now I go to my trusty Dremel, the buzzsaw attachment. I love this attachment. And first I'm just gonna hack off the nose of the ship. Just go for it, right? No turning back. I'm not enjoying this, but I feel that it really needs to happen. So now I am gonna give it some thought now. So now I'm getting out the ruler, and I know that I just want this to be on an angle. And I do want this to be somewhat precise, because I know that I'm going to incorporate this. I'm not gonna cover it up with another piece. I want sort of that open mouth, like a shark's mouth or something like that is what I have in mind. So what's great about this buzzsaw attachment is if you use the cutoff wheel with a Dremel tool, it tends to melt the plastic. So the buzzsaw just cuts through it. It makes it a little ragged, but you know, you just go with some sort of sanding drum. I have the flap disc sander here, and you just smooth that off. You know, it's plastic, so you know, you don't want to melt it, but at the same time, it's pretty easy to work with. So now I have a flat surface, and like I said, because I want this open mouth to be a part of the piece, I'm just sanding that down just to make sure it's all even. So now I'm going to make another cardboard template, sort of like what I did with the wing, because I want these fins, this heat sink in the mouth to sort of echo the fins we have in the back, right? So I'm going to put these fins in the mouth, and I think it's going to add a lot of visual interest. And again, you know, I keep saying this, it's going to make it look more like a spacecraft rather than a floating battleship, right? And you see there, it's got the one fin. So what I like to do is I like to eyeball measurements. You know, if it looks straight, it is straight, right? So I always put a center piece in, and then as you fill in the gaps, you just go equidistant from the center. And that seems to work. So now I realize I'm on a roll. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to put matching ones across the bottom here. And now it's that moment that you wait for, like it's starting to come together. Now it's all starting to make sense. Again, I fly it by, and now I'm getting excited, because now there's the end in sight. Now I'm thinking, okay, this is what's working. And I'm like, okay, it needs two more fins. So now is the fun part of the build. Now it's sort of refining. You have the core taken care of. That was the hard part. Now you don't want to screw it up. So always looking, always contemplating, just thinking, and I just try to be, you know, knee-jerk reaction. Knee-jerk's probably not the right word. I'm just trying to sense what feels right? The gut, right? What's your gut? So now I realize I need one more little piece, because I think it's missing, you know, the bridge. And then the other bridges I had from models would mess with the scale. Like, I want this to seem really huge. So I find this little teardrop, I think it was like some kind of jet engine from another model, and I put that on there, and that worked nice. So now get to the fun part. So I have all this sort of blank canvas, this empty space on the ship. So I go through all my little tiny greebles, right? And I lay them all out, and I just put them in piles like circles, and these are like oil can type things, and these are missiles. And I want to mirror each side with the larger parts, but also at a certain point, I think it's best to give that up and, you know, on the wing, if there's like one piece that has like a greebly and the other wing doesn't, that actually starts to make it look more realistic. So for the side panels, I do try to mirror everything, but you know, it'll be a little off, and I eyeball it. I don't use a ruler because I think it's fine to just eyeball it. And then now also I'm running low on pieces, right? So I'm like, okay, that was a round piece there. On the other side, I'll put another round one, but they won't be identical. But this, again, this is like the fun part, right? It's like you earn this. It's like you did all the hard work. Now it's just sort of relaxing. You get in the zone. It's like, okay, I have this space to fill. I have this piece. No, that one doesn't fit. Oh, but this one over here fits. You know, and it's really that simple. Always looking at it, always thinking about it. Because also the trick that you learn from experience is when to stop. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, the universal greebly. I've been dying to use these. So, you know, there's a long history with the universal greebly, right? Famously in ILM, when they were building like the spaceships, the Millennium Falcon. This is from some World War II kit. This is some little piece that was in a model kit that they just used a lot, and they found that it was always appropriate no matter where you put it. So there's kind of a little mythology around the universal greebly. So I here am putting the universal greebly on my spaceship. It's a crown jewel. Very satisfying. Yeah, and it's true. Like, this is, I've known about this, but this is me first time literally doing it, and I can say it does work. And now I'm going to hit it with this model spray paint to give it the primer coat. And here's usually where I say is the beauty shots, but these are more the progress shots, right? So this is the end of this process. We've primed it, and we're ready for a proper paint job. But now we can see that it worked, and this looks really great. I'm really happy with this. Look at just the primer really brings it to life, right? All the square pegs and the round holes are erased. It's like the magic fairy dust. Okay, so we're gonna stop there. Got the primer coat. Now the goal with this, you know, as I said, was to make something, you know, of the best quality, right? I have plenty of videos where we go to the dollar store and we do it in a day. But the whole exercise for me, because I'm learning this as I go, is to do something like really as close to screen ready, you know, via like 70s as possible, right? And I think we're getting close. So I want to do a proper paint job. I'm going to do Aztecing, which is pretty cool. You see that a lot, like on Star Trek, on the Enterprise, and if you look closely at like a lot of Star Wars and 70s models, it's just these patches, almost like pixelation. So I want to do that. So I need to put a base coat, let that dry. You know, it's raining here where I live. So it's gonna be another couple days just to get the paint done. So I wanted to get this out to you. And this took a little longer because again, it was more detailed. Oh, look at that front. All right, so the next video will be the paint, and then after that, we're gonna film it using a slider in a really controlled environment. So, yeah. Well, as always, I hope you found this video useful. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I love to read the comments. And check out the merch shop. I got hats, shirts. Buying something there really helps the channel. And remember, I'm just here to help make sci-fi.